Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Big D podcast on Spunky Spectrum Sports Network. I am back for my weekly contribution. Alex, yours truly here, coming out of week 2 of the NFL season and leading into week 3 tonight of the NFL season. Before we get too far ahead, and before I introduce your gracious host, don't forget if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, follow along. If you prefer to listen to our voices as opposed to seeing our pretty faces, Spotify, Apple Music, make sure you follow along. Dylan is always pumping out great content, and he's got plenty of it coming. Also, new and improved, if you are watching along on Twitch, thank you for joining us. This is something new Dylan's trying, and we're excited to get some movement and build a community out there as well. But welcoming in the host with the most, the Big D himself, the one and one Jacksonville Jaguars' biggest fan in the NFL, Dylan Schmiller. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty well, Alex. By the way, you can check me out on Twitch, Big D 3300. But by the way, I think Trevor Lawrence just threw another red zone interception, incompletion against the Chiefs.
Yeah,
But nobody's doing hotter than you Dolphins all.
you're right about that. It's a great time to be a Finns fan, and I am fully embracing all of it. But we'll get into that a little bit later.
Hey, I mean 2-0 on the road against Justin Herbert and Bill Belichick. That's not bad, right?
Yeah, it's not bad at all, and we can talk about it now. The greatest thing about it is just watching Mike McDaniel and seeing his growth as an NFL coach. I mean, he was obviously incredible last year, and he definitely got Dolphins fans excited for the future. But seeing the adjustments that he's made into the second season, the time management is significantly dropped as a problem. Biggest problem Miami's having right now is the center quarterback exchange. But it's been great to see some of the crazy new motions that Mike's been put into action in that New England Patriots game, man. Different than a lot of people I think would have expected. You know, Bill Belichick's going to pull out all the stops. He's going to try and stop Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and just the game plan to Raheem Mostert the ball and just absolutely torch New England on the ground. It was fun to watch, and it's not something that you see out of Dolphins coaching in the past, whereas they can actually adjust on the fly and not just stick to what they know. So it's a great time to be a Miami Dolphins fan right
Yeah, and now just keep Tua healthy all year, and look what happened. And look what will happen.
now. Yeah, but he's we'll get into Tua later. We've got plenty to talk about him later on in the show. But let's start it off. A team in the NFC who is 2-0 as well, just like my Miami Dolphins, had a bit of unfortunate news today, kind of out of nowhere. The Dallas Cowboys star defensive back Trayvon Diggs at practice today went down with a knee injury. Cowboys fans held their breath, and unfortunately for Cowboys and NFL fans across the country, the news that they had all hoped was not true is the news that came to light. The MRI has shown Trayvon Diggs has torn his ACL and will be out for the rest of the year. Initial thoughts, Dylan. I mean, the Cowboys are sitting at the top of the National Football Conference, 2-0. Where they want to be in the standings, but unfortunately not where they want to be on the injury report.
At least Trayvon Diggs has got a few $1 million in the bank account.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing to say, but these guys are competitors. They want to be on the field.
And unfortunately, we can't see the Diggs versus Diggs Week 15 matchup in Orchard Park. But I actually don't think the Trayvon Diggs injury is as big of a loss as people think, because I'm just thinking for the Cowboys defense, Michael Parsons is still terrorizing offensive linemen, right?
And scaring quarterbacks.
At this rate, Zach Wilson's going to be seeing ghosts.
Yeah, want to be the first Jets quarterback.
No boy. But is DeMarcus Lawrence sacking the other team's quarterback? Yes. I think Diggs being out will hurt, but, do you remember who Cincinnati's defensive backs were when the Bengals reached the Super Bowl a couple years ago? No.
Pretty sure Eli Apple is one of them.
Do you remember who Kansas City's Snead, and who's the defensive? Who's the nickel? Who's the young corner from Washington? But you don't win Super Bowls with defensive backs nowadays. You win Super Bowls with quarterbacks, linemen on both sides of the ball, and wide receivers. You don't win Super Bowls with defensive backs. Deion Sanders, although be honest with you, with what he's doing in Colorado, is not walking out of that door. With the rules that the NFL's put in, it's not a DB league, it's a wide receiver league. So I think the drop off from one DB to another isn't quite as severe. If Micah Parsons went down, that would be a much bigger ordeal for the Cowboys because they can't lose that guy.
Yeah, and you make a great point, especially about the positions that really don't make or break a Super Bowl team. Defensive back, obviously, we know if you look at the starting running backs for each Super Bowl champion over the past decade, there's not too many high-profile names popping off that list. And running backs all across the league are so upset about what's happening to the position this year. But I think you make a great point, and the biggest thing about it is exactly what you said. DeMarcus Lawrence and Michael Parsons, if they can continue to keep up that pass rush, which as long as they stay healthy, we know they're going to do. I mean, Michael Parsons literally has quarterbacks screaming in terror as he's rushing at them. So if you can keep that up, the quarterback's not going to have enough time with the ball in his hand for a receiver to really break on a route anyway. So a strong pass rush makes cornerbacks better. And exactly what you mentioned. I mean, the drop off from Trayvon Diggs to the next guy in line, it's not going to be as significant because that quarterback on the opposing side of the field is either going to be running for his life, getting sacked, or making a pass with pressure, which gives that backup defensive back time to adjust. So I will say I know Noah Igbenogany, picked up by the Dallas Cowboys, scored a touchdown for him in his first game on that blocked field goal. He was a bit of
What's with blocked field goals on Sunday Night Football nowadays? That's 2 in 2 weeks.
I know blocked field goals on Sunday Night Football and season-ending or career-ending injuries on Monday Night Football. I mean, it just seems to be a pretty common pattern in primetime lately, unfortunately. But I do think Noah Igbenogany. I mean, he's shown some light in Miami. Unfortunately, our defensive backroom was just too deep to be able to keep him, but. I think he'll have an opportunity to step up for the Cowboys, and we'll see what happens. I think, like you said, it's not a make or break it position, and they've got enough talent on the defensive side of the ball to, I think, adjust for it. But it's a lot. You never want injuries on your team. You want to be as healthy as possible, especially 2 weeks into the NFL season, especially it happening at practice. But it's nothing that they can't overcome.
And plus, the Cowboys also added another former defensive player of the year. I can't think of his name. He was in India and New England.
I'm sorry, I missed your statement.
The Cowboys added a former defensive player of the year. He was in Indy and New England.
His name is completely slipping my mind. It's the Stephen Gilmore.
Yeah, Gilmore. Thank you. So, Gilmore might not be what he was. He's still better than most, and plus, the Cowboys could re-sign Anthony Brown now.
But I think, of course, like we mentioned, it's not something you want to see as a Cowboys fan, but I don't think it's a season-ending or season-affecting injury. Miami Dolphins lost Jalen Ramsey before we even play a game for them, and it looks like our defense is doing just fine. So,
well, there are 9 2-0 teams going into the night's game. Thursday night game between the Giants and 49ers. Which team has been the most surprising this year?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of good candidates. Obviously, you always want to stay undefeated as long as possible. 2 weeks into the season isn't necessarily the longest stretch, but it's still a place you'd rather be than the alternatives. So, I got to go with a team who I think a lot of people had at the cellar of the NFL going into the season. It's probably your same pick, Dylan, but the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, we in our preseason divisional previews, I mean, I just absolutely trashed the Atlanta Falcons and their lack of talent, their lack of use when it comes to Kyle Pitts. But I mean, they've found ways to win football games, at least the 2 football games so far this season. I mean, beating the Panthers again, and they're not. It's not like they're playing the Chiefs or the Dolphins or the 49ers, but they beat a Panthers team with some serious talent, and they just beat the Green Bay Packers, who of course they're adjusting to the Jordan Love era, and they were out, it seemed like, every single player that they have. But you still got to show up on Sundays and take care of it. Atlanta Falcons fans, I guarantee you, are happy with their 2-0 start. And I think it's definitely a bit of a surprise even to the biggest Falcons fan.
Well, I'm going to surprise you, Alex. I'm not picking the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going up to the Washington Commanders because I don't think anybody had the Commanders starting 2-0, particularly with how Sam Howell's playing. I mean, Sam Howell got a cup of coffee in Week 18 against the Cowboys, played really well, and then played really well against Arizona. I was impressed with how he played, especially the last 2-3 quarters in Denver, where nobody wins in September. And I mean, Sam Howell's got 3 90-plus passer ratings. The Commanders can run the ball. Brian Robinson looks like a fantasy steal if you got him. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. Plus, talk about pass rush. The Commanders got about 15 first-round picks on that team. Chase Young finally looked somewhat healthy. I think he got a sack in Denver. And, I mean, even Ron Ferris, the defense mind coach, I love the adjustments. And Washington's 2-0. And I know people thinking about Buffalo as still eliminated this weekend. As Lee Corso would say, not so fast, my friend.
Yeah, and I think it's a great shout, but honestly, I remember watching. I randomly turned on one of the Commanders preseason games, and I was watching Sam Howell, and I was like, man, I know that this is preseason, and he's not necessarily playing against ones on the other side of the ball, but kid can throw the rock, and he impressed me. I was even texting my dad during that preseason game, and he was impressed. He was like, man, this Howell kid can play. And
if you did as many best ball drafts I did, I tried to get some Sam Howell. I got some.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, when you draft 175 best ball leagues, though, you better have at least one of every player. But yeah, no, I mean, I think the Commanders have a sneaky good team. There's a lot of talent, as you mentioned, on both sides of the football, and this team will go as far as Sam Howell will take them. I know preseason you were not too high on the Ron Rivera influence when it comes from the head coaching spot, but they've done enough, put enough good plays together, and they're staring at a 2-0 record. Obviously, it's going to be a tough matchup this weekend against Buffalo, but they've got the better record than Buffalo, and this is Buffalo definitely looked better week 2 than they did week 1, but I still don't think it's necessarily the big mean Buffalo Bills that we've been used to over the past couple of seasons. So you never know who could pull that game out on Sunday.
Plus, some weather issues potentially affecting games on the East Coast this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to a ground game, Josh Allen's definitely the best running back on that team, it seems like sometimes. And he's not a guy who I want running at me, but, anything can happen in those weather games for sure. But I think, let's switch it up a little bit. We went with the 2-0 team. That's the biggest surprise. I want to hear, Dylan, which 0-2 team on the flip side of the coin do you think has the best chance at recovering and making something out of this season?
Well, one of us picked the Los Angeles Chargers to make the Super Bowl this year. And who was that person?
Not this guy.
Me. I think the LA Chargers have got to get it together. Otherwise, Brandon Staley will not be a head coach of the Chargers after their Week 5 bye. Because the LA Chargers defense, the LA Chargers offense has been good enough to win both games. But the LA Chargers defense and Brandon Staley's the defensive-minded head coach could not stop a nosebleed. Repeat, could not stop a nosebleed. Alex, what did I say? The LA Chargers cannot what?
Stop a nosebleed.
Thank you. And they made. End of the game against Miami. The one thing J.C. Jackson couldn't do is let Tyreek Hill run a deep pattern. Well, what happened? Tyreek Hill ran the deep pattern, and then last weekend in the game, what happened? The Chargers cannot stop Ryan Tannehill. Ryan freaking Tannehill. I'm just saying. Ryan Tannehill. So they couldn't beat the Dolphin quarterback and the former Dolphin quarterback. And by the way, get this stat here. The Chargers have put up 58 points. Have not turned the ball over. And guess what happened?
They're 0-2.
In the Super Bowl era, 32 teams have scored 50-plus points and committed no turnovers in their first two games. The Chargers are the only one to lose both games.
Yeah, I mean, it's not adding up in LA. Obviously, the Dolphins' performance or lack thereof, there was a couple different key elements in that game, I think, that ended up costing them. I think one is Tua's clutch gene as opposed to Justin Herbert, who honestly in his NFL career hasn't shown very many clutch moments. He's been more to disappoint when it comes to clutch time than and I'm sorry, it's just what I've witnessed. The amount of game losing interceptions I've seen him throw is it's something I've noticed. But a big part of it you have to give to Brandon Staley. I mean, the team is too talented for them. And obviously, we know Austin Eckler didn't play in week 2. He's banged up. And, Chargers are known for having injury concerns. But at the end of the day, someone has to take responsibility. The Chargers ran for over 200 yards week 1 against the Miami Dolphins and still couldn't pull it out. The lack of awareness by J.C. Horn to make the stupid pass interference call at the end of the first half, which realistically, according to the scoreboard, cost them the game. It seems like they're not well coached. It seems like they're not on the same page, and it just seems like they're not able to wrap things up and pull it together. And to be honest with you, the concerns I'm seeing from the Chargers make me even more concerned that they would be able to recover, and I'm a little bit more nervous about the Chargers ending in the middle of the pack in the AFC. Obviously, we know that coming into this season, there was a lot of loaded teams in the AFC. I think things have shifted a little bit after the first 2 weeks, obviously seeing a couple high-profile teams take some losses that we didn't expect, but they've got a lot of work to do. And as you mentioned, if things don't turn around quick, Brandon Staley is going to be in the unemployment line coming up soon because you're not going to change Justin Herbert. You're not going to change Austin Eckler. You're not going to change Mike Williams or Keenan Allen. Something's got to change. And unfortunately for Brandon Staley, if things don't turn around quickly, I think it might be him. On the flip side, I know you had mentioned to answer the question, you had picked the LA Chargers as your Super Bowl representative from the AFC this year. Well, I had picked the Cincinnati Bengals as my Super Bowl representative from the AFC this year.
And now people in LA and Houday Nation are going to blame us for why their teams are all 0-4.
Yeah. So, I think I'm going to have to go back with my Super Bowl pick. And honestly, I do think the Cincinnati Bengals have one of the best opportunities to recover. I think the difference between the Chargers and the Bengals is with the Chargers, we're not really sure what the problem is. We have to think coaching, but there's a couple different elements. With the Bengals, we know Joe Burrow's banged up. We know the calf injury is bothering him. We know he's not being the same Joe Burrow that we've seen since he's entered the NFL. I mean, Joe Burrow doesn't throw for 83 yards in a football game. It just doesn't happen. So, it's tough because the NFL is a physical game and there's not a lot of time to rest or recover. So there's not going to be a lot of time for him to be able to nurse that back to full health. Whether he has to wait till the bye week to get that extra amount of rest to be able to really get back to his full potential, or maybe he has to sit a game if things get worse. I don't know. But eventually he will be feeling better, and the Cincinnati Bengals are going to look like the team that we expect them to look like. It's an unfortunate start to the season for him. We haven't seen anything out of Jamar Chase this season. I just cannot I cannot see this season going without Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase having that connection come back because it's too dangerous. We saw it in college. We've seen it in the NFL. They've been, I mean, the duo of the league since Jamar joined the Bengals, and it's something that I think there's very fixable issues. Joe Burrow is banged up. He will get better, and we're going to see a Cincinnati Bengals team that looks more like the Bengals that we're used to seeing.
Because in one of our leagues, one of us has got both Bengal receivers.
I actually have both Bengals receivers in 2 leagues, so I'm definitely extra banking on Joe Burrow to start turning things around. T. Higgins, he definitely made up for his week 1 goose egg in week 2. We definitely had a nice T. Higgins showing last week, but
Thank you for my dynasty league. I'll take the T. Higgins double touchdown any day.
There you go. But I think it's Jamar Chase's turn coming up very shortly. I highly recommend taking the over on receptions if you're taking any betting props this weekend, because I think this might be a week that Jamar Chase turns things around.
Well, I know it's early, but next year's NFL draft may be one of the best in terms of producing quarterbacks. I think there are several available available. Have you seen Shedeur Sanders, Colorado play? Bo Nix for Oregon, Washington's Michael Penix, Texas Quinn Hughes, Notre Dame Sam Hartman. But there's one guy who's going to be the number 1 pick, and it's Southern Cal's Caleb Williams. So, what team should consider tanking for Caleb Williams?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. I'm not going to take your team, and I will let you share your take with the people. I think the obvious answer is the Arizona Cardinals, but that's actually not the route I'm going to go as well. It might be a surprise, and it's a team that I had picked to have very low expectations in this upcoming season. It's a team that's currently 0-2, but I don't trust Mac Jones as quarterback of the New England Patriots. I mean, after watching this Patriots-Dolphins game this most recent week, the Patriots did what they knew they had to do against the Dolphins in week 2, and that's shut down the deep ball. They were playing 3 high safety practically the entire game. What did the Dolphins do? They rushed all over them. The New England Patriots are going nowhere with Mac Jones. And Bill Belichick, if I'm Rob Kraft right now, you have to be considering, I'm not saying it's something that's going to happen, but you have to be considering a New England Patriots franchise without Bill Belichick as the head coach. His track record without Tom Brady, everyone knows that before he joined New England, when he was the coach of the Browns, when he coached with the Jets, he was not a very successful head coach. All of a sudden, the greatest quarterback in NFL history joins your team, and all of a sudden you're the greatest coach in NFL history. I get that the coach has a big influence on football games, but you can't tell me that Bill Belichick is more important to that New England Patriots franchise than Tom Brady was. And the one thing that Bill Belichick doesn't have right now is a quarterback. Mac Jones is not it. I saw a statistic when it came to Mac Jones's fourth quarter drives with the opportunity to win the game, to tie or win the game. And I think that they were like 1 in 16 or something like that in final drive games. Mac Jones does not have what it takes to be a really starting caliber quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. I don't see the Patriots in a division with the Dolphins, in a division with the Bills, and even the Jets with their elite defense. Obviously, without Aaron Rodgers, things don't look as great for them, but it is one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. If I'm the New England Patriots, the only thing that's stopping me as Bill Belichick from tanking for Caleb Williams this season is being afraid that my job's going to be on the line, because I do think that Bill Belichick's seat is getting hotter and hotter. The Patriots have shown no effort to be able to build a team post Tom Brady, and Mac Jones has shown no effort to be able to be a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL. And I'm just saying, you're in a tough conference, you're in a tough division, you're already sitting at 0-2. What's not to think about Robert Kraft thinking, maybe Caleb Williams could be my next superstar quarterback. Mac Jones isn't showing much to me so far. In my opinion, I think it's worth a shot if I'm the New England Patriots.
Don't the Patriots need wide receivers more than a quarterback, though?
Patriots do need wide receivers, but wide receivers are a lot easier to obtain. I mean, I think
Not in New England, because seemingly the Patriots are extinct from getting wide receivers.
but they don't sign. I don't understand why they re-signed Devontae Parker to a big contract. But the thing is, I
And
mean,
why
most
New England let Jacoby Myers leave when he's clearly better than Juju? But that's a story for another afternoon, right?
right. But I fully understand that they need a lot of help. But what's going to help you better than one of the highest ranked college football quarterbacks coming into an NFL draft? I mean, it starts with the quarterback position. Once you get that quarterback locked down, you can lock everything else down. It's not that hard to find a talented wide receiver in the National Football League. Obviously, it looks like it for Patriots fans, but it's really not. I mean, the Dolphins did it. You got some draft picks. You can shell out some draft picks if you have the quarterback. But there's no reason to get that talent with Mac Jones at quarterback. It's just he's not a good quarterback.
The Minnesota Vikings should 1,000% tank for Caleb Williams because Kirk Cousins, 35? He's a free agent at the end of the year. I don't think the Vikings or anybody should see anything more. We know what Kirk Cousins is, and more importantly, we know what he can't do. We know Kirk Cousins cannot win a primetime game. His life depends on it. Cannot be a quality quarterback on the other team. Justin Jefferson's is likely going to sign one of the biggest deals in NFL history at the wide receiver spot. T.J. Hawkinson's a very reliable, very good security blanket. Jordan Addison's a really exciting rookie. Yeah, the backfield isn't great, but can fix that. Maybe the offensive line. You put Caleb Williams with Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, Jordan Addison. That team can contend for years to come.
Yeah, it's a great point. The only thing that concerns me is, are these Vikings star players? I mean, granted, Jordan Addison, he's going to be on the rookie deal. He's not going anywhere. But is Justin Jefferson is he going to want to go through a tanking season? I mean, I know he's going to get paid, but he can get paid in a lot of different places. I mean,
but here's the thing. What team will pony up 3 first-round picks for Justin Jefferson? I think teams would rather pony up 3 first-round picks for Caleb Williams, though.
Yeah, it's a good point. It is a good point. But let's anything else on the Vikings for Caleb Williams campaign?
At least get a quarterback in the NFC. At least get a quarterback who works in the NFC move.
Yeah, it's not a bad point. All right, so let's move on. We've been on quarterback fever lately, and let's stick to it, Dylan. This is the segment I've been waiting for a very long time, and I hope that I get an honest and accurate statement from you because I haven't been getting one for a long time. There is a quarterback in the National Football League at the current moment that many people may not have expected to be where he is today. Where is this quarterback today? He is sitting at 2-0. He's sitting on top of the American Football Conference, and he is sitting on top of the National Football League. He is the betting favorite for National Football League MVP at the current moment. He threw for a boatload, 466 yards, and a victory over your Super Bowl favorite, San Diego. May as well be the San Diego Chargers and Justin Herbert. They're looking like the San Diego Chargers right about now. Tua Tagovailoa has proven the haters wrong through 2 weeks of the NFL season, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down at any time soon. I want to know, Dylan, with everything that Tua has done in the first 2 weeks of this NFL season, being the betting favorite for the National Football League most valuable player, I'm just going to say that again, Tua Tagovailoa being the leading betting favorite for most valuable player in the NFL, I need to know, Dylan, where do you rank him in your quarterback rankings at the current moment?
Number 11.
No. Oh, no, Dylan. I gave you an opportunity to right your past wrongs. Ladies and gentlemen, this man, and I still don't know if he was joking or not, told me the other day he would take Mac Jones over Tua Tagovailoa, and you might have just lost all your followers by me disclosing that information. Tell me, what reasoning do you possibly have to have 10 quarterbacks higher than Tua in your ranking?
I want to see Tua do it for a full 17-game season. If Tua does it for a full season, I'm going to put him in the top 5 or 6.
Okay. That's it. That's just the fear of injury is what.
Yes. Yes. If Tua does it for a full year, I don't have any problems. But I mean, based on what he's done right now, people would have Tua as the top 5 or 6 quarterback. But I'm like, wait and see. Wait and see. The Dolphins started out great last year, and we know what happened.
I mean, I understand your concern, Dylan, but he's addressed so many of these issues. The only injury concern that you have to be aware of is the concussions. The hip is a thing in the past. The ankle is a thing in the past. None of that is, or I don't even think either way, the concussion is the concern, of course. But what did he do in the offseason? He addressed anything and everything he could have possibly done to prevent that issue. He bulked up. He's practically twice the size as he was last season. He's taking these jiu-jitsu classes, and we've seen the difference in him falling on tape as a vast difference and a vast improvement. His head isn't slamming up against the ground like it was last season every time he hit the floor. He is playing smarter, and he's got the fastest release in the NFL. It's hard to get concussed when the ball's coming out of your hands in 1.2 seconds.
That would help.
On top of that, Teron Armstead hasn't even played a snap for the Miami Dolphins this offseason, and he still hasn't had any issues. He's getting one of the best left tackles in the NFL coming back. His release, the plays that Mike McDaniel has been drawing up have been so perfectly suited for him. Of course, I'm biased, but everything is pointing towards Tua continuing what he's done so far. And I don't care if you're concerned about him falling off the roof of Hard Rock Stadium. 11 as the ranking for the leading betting favorite for MVP is just disrespectful.
I'm being completely objective.
I can't. I don't have that. I don't have that privilege. But I still think just you take a look around, and it seems like Tua's just getting a little bit more respect from media lately, and we just got to get the Big D himself convinced.
Well, I mean, if the Dolphins end up winning AFC East, Tua puts together an MVP season, I will be convinced.
All right, fair enough.
Okay. It's week 3. It seems like everybody's reacting, whether good, whether bad, or whether ugly. I know it's early, but what team or player do you think is in trouble going into week 3 of the 2023 NFL season?
There's one team that is the only team that comes to mind, and I have a bad feeling I might be taking your answer here, Dylan, but I would be so scared if I'm a Chicago Bears fan right now. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just, you bring in DJ Moore. He's supposed to be the guy who lifts Justin Field into the next level, and we're just not seeing what we need to see from DJ Moore. And the biggest problem is Justin Fields. He looks lost out there. He's running into his offensive lineman. He's running into a collapsing pocket. His accuracy is just not accurate. I understand the perk of having a mobile quarterback and a running quarterback, but if you can't throw the ball, what is the purpose? Like, it's embarrassing to watch what the football that Justin Fields has been playing. It looks like he doesn't really care when he's out there. And to make things even worse, he's blaming his coaches. It's just not a bad look. It's just not a good look for Justin Fields. And it's a team that I would not want to be a fan of when it comes to expectations for the upcoming season.
You might be young. You might be. Oh wait, where are you going?
I'm here. I got my Roomba going. I gotta close the door.
Oh, I was thinking. Do you remember the late Dennis Green's quote after the Chicago Bears famously beat the Arizona Cardinals during a crazy Monday night game in 2006?
I do remember. Would you like me to say it, or do you want to go for it?
No, you go for it.
They are who we thought they were.
And that's why we took the.
I don't remember the second half.
And that's why we took the bleeping field. Now, if you want to crown their bleeps.
Yeah.
The Chicago Bears are who we thought they were, who they've been since 1985. The Chicago Bears think of football like it's 1985. I'm just saying, why are the Bears having Justin Fields become a pocket passer? I mean, let's see. Could Peyton Manning throw from the pocket? Yes. Could Tom Brady throw from the pocket? Yes. Could Joe Montana play from the pocket? Yes. I'm just saying, in 2023, turning Justin Fields into a pocket passer would be the equivalent of turning Travis Kelsey into a into a blocking tight end. You don't have Travis Kelsey as a blocking tight end because that takes away his biggest weapon, which is his ability to catch the ball. What made Justin Fields so exciting last year was his ability to run the ball. I think in 2 games this year, Fields has run the ball 5 times. And yes, Justin Fields shouldn't be running 15, 20 times, but he can run 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times a game. Just slide, get out of bounds, don't take big hits. I'm just saying, Lamar Jackson, is almost. How do you prepare for the Ravens? Because there is no other quarterback who can juke out a defender like Lamar. It's like, how do you stop this guy? It's like, it's getting me dizzy just thinking about it.
Yeah.
About it. Why is Justin Fields regressing? We've seen this, and maybe it's something with defensive minded head coach. We've seen with Mike Tomlin and Matt Canada. Well, all of a sudden, Kenny Pickett has regressed big time. We've seen it with Josh Allen even regressing with defensive mind Sean McDermott. I'm just saying, you're not seeing. I mean, even the rookie quarterbacks this year, Bryce Young might not have a lot of talent, but the Panthers trust him. The Houston Texans trust C.J. Stroud. You've seen how many times he's thrown the football? Anthony Richardson, have you seen what he's done for the Colts? Good Lord, that guy's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It looks like he should be. It looks like he should be on a beach in Malibu. He might be. He might be if he doesn't get out of concussion protocol this weekend.
Yeah.
But I don't know what's going on. If the Bears are who we thought they were, then Caleb Williams could very well be Chicago's quarterback. I don't know if it's the head coach. I don't know if it's the quarterback. But the way this season's going, both are going to be gone from Chicago.
Yeah, it's you're not where you want to be, and it's just mind-boggling, like you said. I mean,
and plus, it's not like Justin Fields lost to the Dallas Cowboys and Kansas City Chiefs. Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield outplayed Justin Fields. Wait a minute. What did I say?
Jordan Love and Baker Mayfield outplayed Justin Fields.
I can't believe I just said that.
I know. Shout out to Baker Mayfield. Obviously he's got some talent around him. Some 2 great receivers over there in Tampa Bay.
By the way, I got a bold prediction. Mike Evans will not end the season in Tampa.
Will not end the season in Tampa. Yeah, I mean, it seems like his time is coming to an end. But I've heard the rumors myself. But where do you think he ends up? Ooh, all right. New England. Gotcha. That's a story for another day, I guess.
By the way, Alex, I think we should I think we should also do this. When we do our weekly head-to-head on DraftKings, I think what we should do is whoever loses this the most matchups between us should clean his mother's house.
Oh my, Dylan, I I would love to take that bet, but you haven't seen my mother's house, and if you had seen my mother's house, you wouldn't make me do that.
That's why this bet's perfect.
I don't know. I think we might have to go back to the negotiating block on that one. I think we could come up with something a little. That's torture, Dylan.
How can it be? How can it be torture? You still owe me that 40-minute bike walkout after the Jags beat your Dolphins in London 2 years ago.
That game doesn't count. That was a fallacy. It never happened. Urban Meyer has never been in the NFL, and he sure as heck never beat the Dolphins for his first win. That never happened.
Hey, he's 1-0. Hey, he's 1-0 in the UK.
Yeah, and that's about all he's gonna be.
1-0 against the Bills.
True.
Well, Josh Allen is undefeated against Josh Allen.
Yeah, and Tua is undefeated against Bill Belichick.
By the way, I've got a good I've got a good Tua stat for you.
Hit me with
it. I think Tua has played. I don't know if it's currently, but recently Tua's played 9 Super Bowl winning head coaches.
Yeah.
And done one thing against them.
What?
He beat all of them.
Pretty impressive, if you ask me.
Trying to including that Bill Belichick guy.
Hey, he's beat him 4 times.
By the way, who did the Dolphins play this weekend?
Ooh, we have a Mr. Russell Wilson in gang coming in town. The
Wait a minute. Who's the head coach?
Oh, Sean Payton, another Super Bowl winning head coach.
In that building, no less.
Yeah, you're right. That's a very good point, Dylan. I guess it's written in the stars. Lock of the week: Miami Dolphins. Spread, money line, however you want to pick them, over the Denver Broncos.
So that means Sean Payton's definitely going to start the second half with an onside kick, right?
We'll be ready for it.
Yeah, and hopefully Hank Baskin doesn't drop it this time.
No. But I think that's about all the time the clock has allotted us, Dylan. It's been a pleasure to come back for my weekly contribution. You will see us back here next week after the Miami Dolphins are 3-0. Remember to follow, subscribe, like, all of the things for all of the social medias. I hope if anyone has joined us on Twitch, I hope you've enjoyed it. I think that's a thing that Dylan will be continuing to do in the future. But any last words, Dylan?
Meow.
Ends up, babe.